Heidi ho, everyone. How are you? My name is Sharon Combs, and this is Knowledge or Nonsense. I am so excited this evening that I'll be able to speak with this guest that we have today, a dynamic person, just learning, being visible, being willing to give. I was able to meet her in person at conferences, as we go different places here and there. Just being able to see her in person, see how she's able to interact with individuals. Just a kind soul, and appears to be a kind, fun soul. Fun is important, so I can tell already that there's like a joy. There's a joy. I see it and I feel it already. There is a joy in there. And I'm glad that we're going to be able to experience that joy, experience some of the knowledge, and experience some of the possibilities that actually are there in healthcare for the taking. And so you guys know what to do. Please share this video. Go ahead, share the video right now. If you have questions or comments, please put your questions and comments into the chat box. Share this, subscribe to our YouTube page. Yes. And I just want to wait, let me stop right here and give a plug. Last year alone, our YouTube page increased like over 1,000%. It didn't just double, but it increased over 1,000%. And our audience remains faithful. So I want to say thank you guys so much. I know somebody last week won $700 just playing the game on Time to Talk. So thank you for being a part of the Knowledge or Nonsense family, the Knowledge or Nonsense network, being faithful and watching and participating in the things that we put out there. Those of you who are in Chicago, we'll be seeing you toward the end of the month. So I look forward to that. But I want to say thank you to you. Thank you for being a part. Thank you for showing up consistently. That's enough about me. I'm going to hush now. And I'm going to play this intro one more time. This is time for you to get your water, share the video, type where you want to type, let us know where you're watching from. And when we come back, we're going to have our guest with us. Her name is Krystal Westmoreland. And if you don't know, you will know after tonight's show. So y'all give us about 20 seconds and we'll be right back. Hello, how are you doing, Krystal?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I am awesome as well. Welcome to the Knowledge and Nonsense platform. This is my first time being able to host you. And to say I'm excited about it would be an understatement. I do consider it an honor already. As the young people say, no cap, no fluff. I am just glad to be able to speak with you today.
Thank you.
So, Krystal, tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Krystal Westmoreland, and I am an extremely happy person. Like anyone who ever meets me will always say, okay, why is she so bubbly? It's just part of my personality. I've been this way for my entire career, actually. And so one of the things I love to do is spread joy and love. And I try practicing it every single day, and especially inside the sterile processing field.
Yes, listen, it's needed. Sterile processing, healthcare period, is a very demanding field. It is a high reward field, definitely internally, but it is a demanding field also. How did you happen to be involved in sterile processing?
So many years ago, I was in college looking to be a surgical technologist. And so I would always go to my biology teacher and ask like, hey, do you know of any classes that I could take for surgical technology? And just by me honestly asking these questions every time I went to school, they started their first sterile processing program. And I was one of the first students who they said, well, Krystal, are you interested in sterile processing? And so this was like in 2006. And so I was like, well, what's sterile processing? What is that? And so one of the teachers, she was explaining to me about the program, and they were like, "We never done this before, but we know you're interested in surgical technology." And I was like, "Well, count me in." And so that's how I started in the field of sterile processing.
So that's good. That means you almost have 20 years in. You've almost been in this field 2 decades. See? And look at this, man, whatever. I bless your smile. I bless your joy. Like you've been in almost 2 decades, and that joy actually radiates, which means it's a pleasure probably too for others who are able to work with you, around you, in proximity to you. Like that's amazing. I bless that. I don't know what it's called. I see joy, but I bless it, and I hope it gets on and in everybody who you happen to intersect with. So, with you being in this field for a couple of decades, can you tell us a little bit about your journey when you came in, almost like entry level? What made you decide to move and step up into the opportunities, even of leadership and
Yeah, so when I first started sterile processing, I was still a supervisor at the Gap. And so I was in school and sterile processing, being a leader at the Gap. And I started my first internship. And in my internship, I was like, oh my God, these worlds are so different. And so you have someone that is like, oh my God, hi, welcome to the Gap. Nice to meet you, to give me this tray right away. And I was just like, it was so shocking to me. The world was so extremely different. And so starting that internship, I was just like, God put this before me, so I'm going to see it all the way through. And I literally was in my internship every day fighting to just do exactly what my teacher taught me, making sure that I put the patient first. And so I was always operating like that. And in my internship, they offered me a job before my internship was over. And they said, Krystal, we would really love for you to stay on board. And I was like, really? It's exciting to go to school for something and you don't know where it will take you. And I've always been, in sales since I was a teenager in high school. And then to go from sales leadership to sterile processing, it was like starting all the way over in my career. And so I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to see it all the way through. And so when I started, I asked all the questions. I was that irritating technician that drove everybody crazy because I was like, well, why? Why are you doing that? What do you mean? Well, where's that supposed to go? But I don't understand. They were like, Krystal, stop it with all the questions. And to this day, I'm the same way. And so for me, I always wanted to know more about the field, from myself being a patient, my daughter being a patient, my husband being a patient. I always wanted to grow and learn about the importance of why we do what we do, and then to share that joy, and so that's always been very important to me, because if we can't put the patient first, then what good are we in sterile processing? And so a lot of people ask me, they say, Krystal, how do you maintain this joy? And you've been in the field for so long. I say, I promise you, if I don't put the patient first, I don't need to be in this field anymore if I can't do that. And so thinking of the patients literally is what drives me. It drives, and it has always propelled me forward to make sure that I do what's best for best practices for sterile processing.
Okay, so as you are going through your journey and you're hitting different levels of leadership, because you're a director now, but different levels of leadership. Was there ever a time when you were like a manager?
Mm-hmm.
Or okay, when you stepped into the management role, what are some of the what were some of the key differences that you noticed from before manager to being a manager? What were some of those key differences, if you can?
Yeah, so being a manager compared to the other roles that I've held in sterile processing, because I've held, oh my God, almost 8 different roles in sterile processing. So it actually helped me a lot to have all those roles before being a manager, because it allowed me to care more about my staff in a different light, because I can understand where, and what issues they were facing, and not only say, hey, I read this in a book, I get it, but no, I actually truly understood. And so going from a sterile processing technician to implementation specialist, even practicing an ORL role for a while, being the leader of the phone area with all the case cards. I did that for months. To being a lead, a supervisor, and then a manager, I was able to put both, take all those experiences and put them into my manager's role. But then as a manager too, now you're looking at all these other different ways of, budgeting and making sure that, all the stuff that you didn't practice, and you're like, oh my God, okay, now I have to make sure that I'm keeping up with the hospital's needs. I can't have that full practice of, my staff have to be in this perfect state, but now I have to combine both, be supportive for my team as well as be supportive for the hospital and their needs and what's expected of me as a manager. So learning those two.
Can we stay?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so learning those two was extremely important to me. Making sure that I can be successful in a role by putting both together, by putting both, caring for my team and the actual hospital needs as well.
I would like to, can we stay here for just a little bit and unpack this a little more? Because that's actually how I titled this, both and, because I want us to hit both and in different areas of your trajectory. But right there, you're saying this is a both and moment as well. Supporting your staff, being there for your staff, and meeting these budgetary needs, working interdepartmentally, not just case by case, but now department by department. So are there things that you do? I was going to say, are there specific practices or measures that, no, just let me stay here for one more minute. When you began to do the budgeting and bring these other areas in that now you're responsible for in management, were there certain checks that you put in place for yourself to be sure that you were giving everything the best care possible? Like, did you have checklists? Did you have a think tank, like a mastermind? Were there other sterile processors that you pulled from, other professionals? How were you able to do the both and there?
So one of the things that was really important that I learned in my career is documentation, documenting everything. And so where the sterile processing team members, where they will be struggling trying to keep up with the OR cases, making sure that I took that information and actually present it to the OR directors and the OR managers and the C-suites, because I had to learn that they don't always understand each other's roles. And so making sure that I properly documented the information, the things that we were going through. It's always important to have an actual electronic tracking system in departments, because it's really easy to pull that data so that we can actually show this is what the team is experiencing. This is what the team, go through on a regular basis. But it also helped me to actually create those needs for the department. whether if a department needed an ultrasonic or a washer, making sure that I had all that data together so that when I presented it to upper leadership, they understood why we needed new equipment or why we needed more FTEs. And so for myself, I am really big on IFU. We have to follow our instructions for use. As you guys may know, I used to be an educator. And so, and being a sterile processing educator, I always reminded the staff, we didn't make these actual devices. So we can't make up how we reprocess them. We have to follow the IFU first. And so I will always make sure, even as a manager, to drive that home first. So these documents, of course, they were created as a foundation for our field. And so making sure that I follow the AAMI guidelines and the IFUs and, making sure that the staff understood it and using this information so that we can get more budgeting and FTEs approved.
Do you believe, I'm asking about your opinion, do you believe that documentation helps minimize like stress sometimes when you're trying to communicate? Like, do you think it makes a difference that communicating with said documentation, supporting your statement versus communicating and saying, well, I've been trying to tell you for the past 2 years, but there is no documentation? Do you feel like that has helped your...
Yes, of course, because I have to train supervisors and leads all the time. And I tell them, I say, we can talk all day long, but without the data to back this up, we're basically just talking to brick walls. We can complain all day, but where is the data? Where's the information? If we're giving this really big amount to the CFO, they don't want to just sign anything. We have to be able to show our work, to show our actual needs, to show what we do, because word speaks volumes. And so it relieved all the stress on earth. And I've seen it in all my different roles. And so when I was able to learn how to put this information together to make it presentable, my stress level went from here to here. So yes, it does.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am a firm believer in document. I just think documentation sets everyone up for success. Whether things are moving at the speed we want, but that documentation really does more, and it brings us out of... Anyway, that's enough about me. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I do see so many people who care so much about the patient. They care so much about the department, and they will verbally state it and verbally state it again. And my heart literally begins to break for them for when I see that, because I know in my knower that when the meeting comes around, you may say it again, but if there's never any documentation over 3, 6, 9 months, you may begin to feel unheard and frustrated when that documentation would speak and help. It would help support what it is you're saying. And it would support it to people who may not understand what really goes on inside of the SPD department. So thank you so much for that. Are there specific measures or practices that you've seen that, helps ensure patient safety, employee safety, like best practices? What are some of those things that you've seen there?
So in my multiple fields, one of the things that I've always have done is work with infection prevention. I always use it as a starting point, working in different hospitals, to make sure that myself and infection prevention, that we're on the same page. And the wonderful thing is, every infection preventionist I've ever worked with have been very supportive of sterile reprocessing. So making sure that they also help with those quality checks, the quality control methods that is very important in our field. Having, because I've actually been into hospitals where at first they didn't track whether it was sprayed or not sprayed. They didn't have in place where, if the OR was actually sitting a case cart down properly. And so working with infection prevention, and also working with the OR managers and directors and working on this documentation so that we can have these quality control methods put in place. And actually, I was quoted in an Amy document that has the checklist that we created at one of my past facilities. And we did 2 different articles, and we also did another article too for AORN and utilizing our checklist to actually have quality control methods throughout every department, even starting from the OR. So those checklists, creating it based off of the facility that you're working with and working with the right leadership team, and even incorporating some of the sterile processing technicians, I have seen has been very enlightening and also very important. And I have literally been able to be a part of massive growth inside of hospitals where they went from, we're just going to get the case card and we're just going to push through the washer, to no, this case card did not have an actual bioburden sign on it. We're going to make sure that we document that appropriately. We're going to make sure that these instruments were sprayed, and if they're not, we're going to document that appropriately. And then even after all this information, having those monthly meetings or even sometimes weekly meetings with the OR staff, their leadership team and sterile processing, and then talking about this actual data, talking it over and actually building improvements on the data, and not just talk about it, but actually see an actual growth in it, and then see extreme improvement. So yes, definitely having those checklists, having the right individuals in your corner, making sure that support is coming from everyone throughout the organization in the hospitals. And I know that every hospital is different. Believe me, I understand, but it's definitely possible, because I've heard people say, well, it's not possible where I'm working. I promise you, it's definitely possible to get the right people at the table and work together as a team.
Yes. Okay, we're going to take a very short break. Just even as you were talking about the data, I know one of the presenters who will be a scrub ball this upcoming summer is actually talking about data-driven decisions, and I am so excited about hearing it. So we're going to take a very short commercial break, give some love and visibility to scrub ball. When we come back, is it okay if we talk a moment about just relationship building, relationship cultivating, even working together on solutions between like OR materials, just the vendors. But can we talk about just the relationship building there and maintaining, cultivating so that everyone's on one page when we come back? All right.
Yes,
we'll be back in just a moment. You guys know what to do. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Scrub Ball is all about celebrating healthcare. If you're in the healthcare field, no matter where you work, we celebrate you.
All right, guys. So please know Scrub Ball is this June 20th through the 22nd here in the Dallas, Texas area. It's going to be amazing. If you're in leadership or you're wanting to be in leadership and you rock scrubs, still processing or not, and you rock scrubs, please come and join us. This is the 4th year. It's been amazing every year. And of course, you may feel like, well, we're going to say that as someone who's been. It is a life-changing, life-giving event, and it's just beautiful. So, Krystal, I wanted to come back and ask you about the relationship building and relationship nurturing, both in the department and across department, like across the disciplines within healthcare. What are some of the things that you've done? Well, just tell us how you feel about relationship building and maybe some of the things you've done to sustain those relationships.
So for me, I've always practiced relationship building. I think it's extremely important. One of the things I had to learn growing in my career is that people want to be heard. They want to make sure that their voice is heard. And we also want to make sure that not only is the voice being heard, but we're actually doing something about it.
It looks like you accident. You may be muted. Maybe I did it. Let me unmute you. Oh, I lack the ability to unmute you. Oh, okay. Well, I think you. Let's see. I think I can unmute. Yeah. So I think I was able to get that back off mute. My apologies there, Krystal. What were you saying about relationship building?
So relationship building is extremely important. And so I have been able to see the different relationships grow throughout my career, but also helping to support other individuals and to help them build those relationships, not only with their coworkers, but with also the clinics as well as the operating room and other departments. And, I have seen staff members where they're just like, I can't get along with this person and I don't want to work with this person. And I will always tell them, who is it about? It's about the patient. We have to be able to work together so that that patient can go home peacefully back to their family, their loved ones. That's what it's most importantly about. I've actually had staff members I actually had to create a document for them because I'm an instructional designer as well, create an educational document that helped explain relationship building. So we had like supervisors on first shift, second shift, and third shift that was continually to clash. And so after I created this document for them, they completed the whole document. They did the quiz behind it. We actually came together as a group just to talk about it. And they actually laughed. They were in that document. I was able to show them their different leadership styles. And so this conversation turned into such a positive, gathering with them that they were like, literally, when I say laughing at each other, they were like, oh, well, okay, that's the type of leader you are. And then also making sure that I follow up with those relationships, letting staff members understand, yes, we work together all day long. We're right here with each other all day long. But whatever we're going through in our personal lives, we leave it at the door. We come in and we do our work and work together as a team. And so I will literally say this one funny thing. I remember one of my staff members, they came up to me when I was a manager and they were like, we were in a really big group meeting and they were like, well, we want a raise. And I said, well, I want you guys to work together better as a team. And literally the whole staff was like, but I bet you 5 months later, they were working together like this. And so making sure that I was able to be that ear for them, letting them know I understand your concerns. I see where the need is, but actually following up with those different relationships, making sure that we respect each other, because that's extremely important. And one of the most important things with relationship building is having that ability to do a day in a life, where the operating room will come to sterile processing, and the sterile processing will go into the OR and spend an entire shift in those different departments, so that we can grow and learn at a different level of what each other is actually experiencing, where they're like sterile processing, they're like, I had no idea that that's what they were experiencing. Where in the OR, we're like, oh my God, I just thought you guys were like washing dishes. And I'm like, nope. And so having those experiences, listening to them, and then even putting them together in rooms, like, okay, share what you experience in the OR, share what you experience at SPD. And I was really able to see relationships flourish. I mean, we don't have to be best friends when we leave our department, but I bet you that patient gonna leave safely from our department. And that's what it's about, you know? And I've always tried to be that example to individuals as well. People always say, Christy, you're happy no matter what's going on. I say it's a daily practice, literally. I pray about it all the time. It's a daily practice for me. It's not always easy being joyful when it's so much going on around individuals, you know, in healthcare, in the world. And so trying to be that light, that beacon of hope, you know, that no matter what we're going through in life, to be an encouragement to someone else, you know, I think it's very, very important. And I tell people all the time, I say, listen, my husband gets all the tears. You know, he gets all the complaints, but I will never, ever take that into any hospital, any department. You know, I was also part of the wellness committee too. And so that was one of the things that was very important in the wellness committee, being able to say, you know what, I'm not having a good day today, but I'm going to put forth the effort and I'm going to try, you know, having that to actually come out of an individual's mouth, verbalizing this information, verbalizing like, okay, we're going to make the best out of this day with a positive attitude. And then even like with some of my staff, I used to tell them, do you guys need a break? Okay, come sit in my office for a second. I'll let you be. I'll walk out. I'll give you 5 minutes, pull it all together, and let's bring it back. That also worked with my staff a lot too. Because, you know, there are sometimes we don't understand what our staff members are going through. And we just can't assume and we can't act like they're robots. And so I have seen that to be very successful too, where that individual will like Krystal, I actually really did need that. Thank you so much. So yeah, relationship building is like top priority because we can't do this job alone at all.
Wow, that is so good. I am going to replay that back myself. I love that you said even just the different styles of leadership, because I love things like that, because it really does take the sting out, and it helps people not internalize something that never needed to be internalized, that didn't have to be internalized anyway. It's just personality. They may look at it different than you, but they're not looking at you differently. Like they are just approaching this thing differently. So that's so good. That is so good. And the fact that you could even say, well, this is what I want too. Yes, I will go. Yes, but yes. So no, I love that. Thank you so much for all of that. That was a nugget, y'all. I know you're listening. I'm going to replay it back. You feel free to replay it back too, because that was a nugget, and feel free to write nugget in the chat box right in that minute, because that is so important. We all go to work, but we do all work with people. I know AI is coming, and AI will be an even more integral and integrated part of what everyone does, but we still work with people. So that, oh man, that was amazing. Now, before I ask you some questions, because your journey in sterile processing, even when you were talking about the different roles, can I just take a moment and give you your flowers on being fully in those rooms? Because everything you said, it was like you were fully there. You weren't like, well, let me just get this and now I have the title, so check. I could hear when you were speaking, you were present in that role. really doing the best you could do to learn, to own that role, and to make everything better because you were in that role. I heard it with the education, I heard it with the management. So kudos and congratulations on the new rooms that you stepped into, because each of those roles is a new room, but all of that was preparing you for where you are. And so, my God, my God, Krystal, that is a huge thing. You're going to get this love. You're going to get this work today. My God, that is a huge thing to be able to take the best of wherever we are and carry that forward. Learn from what we would consider the worst, but take the best. How can I apply this? I've digressed. I'm bringing it back now. So I want to ask, we talked about relationships. We talked about documentation. Thank you so much on documentation. We talked about joy. I wanted to ask you too. I know that you have been a business owner. You have learned new things as far as entrepreneurial things. What are some of those components that have helped you in your role in employment and outside of employment? Like, what are some of the things you've taken from your entrepreneurial journey that you know apply inside the workforce?
Oh, so yeah, so I was able to take in my entrepreneurial journey into sterile processing, learning how other departments navigate, seeing those different relationships, and being able to take it back into the sterile processing field, sharing those joyous moments while on the road, and being able to incorporate the two, and even vice versa. So where I was able to spread a lot of light and joy in the trucking world, where they're like, you are the happiest person I ever seen, where I will actually go into the different trucking areas, and they will literally tell me, we don't have a light like that shines in the trucking world. Where where it was chaos and confusion, where they're like, this shipment hasn't arrived. I was able to say, oh my God, that's just like a sterile processing. The vendor hasn't arrived. This patient is on the table.
Yes.
Being able to incorporate the two and then share the two together has made me literally personally grow and understanding the people aspect of everything. And so, like, even with the budgeting and the billing, oh my God, that's helping me in my regional director role now. I had to learn a lot and grow a lot when it came to the trucking industry, and making sure that I had my checks and balances in place, ensuring that I followed the rules of the role in every different state. Like, I literally had no idea that every different state had all these different trucking regulations and rules. And so I had to learn that. And I wasn't able to incorporate into the hospitals, where every hospital is different. Every infection prevention is different. Yes, we have our foundations, but every individual, every organization that I've ever encountered with are very different. So I always ask myself, okay, Krystal, how can you take little things from each area and actually help build and grow? And so it was such a wonderful experience having the trucking, not only building and growing it, but understanding it and learning the actual process, and still wake up in the morning and go into sterile processing. I was just like, sleep, what? I was like, give me my coffee, I'm good. So I was able to do this for years, but it made me very happy. And also, on top of that, when it comes to like family, it also gave me a chance to spend more quality time with my husband. And so it's for me, family is extremely important. It's really easy to get so far in our careers where we forget about our family. and being able to take a step back and be like, you know what, I'm sorry. I know I was at work and I know I brought work home, but let me see how, we can spend more quality time together. So hitting the road, especially on the weekends, oh my God, it was an absolute blessing. And so, like, if anybody asks my husband about sterile processing, he can tell you almost anything. It's horrible. He'll tell you about a flexible scope in a minute, because a lot of those road trips, either if I was driving or if he was driving, I was blabbing my heart out about, so, when we're actually reprocessing a flexible scope, it's very important to follow the IFU and that the staff understand it. And my husband would be like, so it definitely had its benefits. And so now he understands my world a whole lot better.
I love that. Again, that is both and. Sometimes you get we're so busy. We're like, I'll do that when this. But again, there's the both and. There can be the both and. It's both and, and so I bless that. Yay for your husband. Plus getting to see different parts, different counties, getting an understanding. And I can just say, because of some of the things I do in the sterilization industry, you are very right about different areas have different requirements. I do work with one of our sponsors, SIPS Consults. Every state is different. Every state is different. And so it is amazing. I wanted to ask you too about the leadership. Before I ask you this next question, is there anything you would like to share, or anything just right now on your heart that you want to share?
So I would just definitely say, for all our sterile processing students that are inside of their classes or even thinking about starting sterile processing, never lose sight of why you chose the field of sterile reprocessing. No matter how difficult it may seem or exciting or whatever, just never lose sight of that. I've been able to hold the exact same energy as a student in 2006, that I am now, and sharing that energy, that light, making sure that we understand that our patients are important, no matter if we don't see them or not. Sharing the information about what we've learned is also very important. I always express to staff members to share what you know. If you cannot help build another leader, if you can't help build another staff member, what good are you in any field? Sharing that knowledge, making sure that you plant that seed of encouragement, of growth, of excitement and knowledge. Share it. Don't hold it to yourself. I've actually seen people do that. And for me, I love building strong leaders. I tell leaders, especially when I was an educator, I will always tell them, I'm going to train you to be better than me. And I say, by the time your training is over, you're going to run circles around me. And to see the joy on their face when they're in decon and they got like 100 case cards down there, they're like, Krystal, look, watch how I get all these trays knocked out and make sure that there's no bio burden coming to the assembly side. That joy alone is so rewarding. Even training the staff in flexible scopes. And they're like, okay, Krystal, I'm ready for you to see what I've learned. And I'll sit there and watch them and the joy on their face. And I'm like, okay, so why are you doing this? Because I always prepare them for joint commission, always. And why are you doing this? And they'll be like, Krystal, watch this, I got it. And they just go. And they're saying the why behind what they're doing. And to see that joy in their actual reprocessing, in their conversations, it makes me so happy. So then when joint commission is coming, they're not stumbling over the words. They're literally like, I follow the IFU. The IFU stated that I need to perform my leak test, and then they will start doing it. And that to me is important. So if I could say anything, it's share the knowledge that you know, continue to share it, continue to grow. You know, we can never not know enough. Like, continue to learn and to listen. So that's my little nugget of.
I love that. No, thank you. I'm so glad I asked because I love that. I heard just empowerment, ownership, encouragement, and then they're like, yeah, let's go. Their confidence is up. You know, confidence is amazing. And when you're confident for real, not faking it, but just confident, like, no, I understand this process. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And not only that, now they are going to be able to confidently share with someone else. So I love that. Hey, clap, 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 clap. So I want to ask you too, within leadership, you said you've seen some that sometimes don't share. What I've noticed, and it seems like it's diminishing now. We have some fresh faces, some new people coming into the field, but definitely there's some that's just like they have the knowledge, they have the know-how, but they're like, no how, no way am I taking any leadership position. And they're like, no. And so I wanted to ask you, like, what are some of the things, again, this is opinion only, so I'll put something under there that says, you know, these are the opinions. What are some things you've seen that prevent people from stepping into things of increasing responsibility? You know, taking those positions. You have a supervisor, they may have been a supervisor 15, 20 years, and they know how to do what to do, but they're like, I don't want it. I don't want it. I'm going to stay back here. I may talk about it at the water cooler or in the break room, but I don't want it. So what are some of the things you've seen that would prevent someone from assuming positions of responsibility? Because we need it. We need that knowledge that people have.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And so I've heard staff members say fear, the fear of the unknown, or they've actually seen a manager or a director burn out, you know, seeing it from behind that person and their experience. So I've seen it all, where I've actually asked supervisors like, hey, why haven't you elevated? And they're like, oh, it's not for me. Management's not for me. I'm like, but you're doing it. You're doing it every day. I'm like, you're coming in, you're talking to your team members, you're making sure that you place everyone where they need to be. You're giving the information to the OR directors that's needed for the case volumes, for the week, for the day, for the weekend. You're doing it. And so also the lack of support. Some people feel like if they elevate, that they won't have that support. And so, like, for myself, I always try to be that support for other individuals. I'm like the biggest encourager on earth, like, literally. I'm always trying to encourage individuals to grow and to elevate, to not be afraid, you know, to not allow fear to hold them back. You know, fear can be a weight, you know, and actually pushing forward, moving forward, and having that great support system around you is, you know, what will help any individual to actually come out of their comfort zone and to be that light to their staff members, to be that light to the OR. And so you are totally right. I've seen it in so many different capacities. And I always try to encourage individuals that I encounter that, you know, if I can help, either whether if I work with them or not, I will still help be that support and to share the knowledge that I know as well to help them to climb that career ladder.
That's so good. That's so good. You know what's amazing, and I share this in things that I am blessed and able to do. What's amazing is we are only born with two fears: the fear of falling and loud noises. Everything else is like a learned fear. It's something that has been learned or communicated to us. There are exceptions to every rule for people who may have some phobias. You know, if you have a phobia, I'm not telling you to go out there and fight your phobia because I said something on this live. But in order to come out of that fear like the fear zone, out of your comfort zone. You have to hit like fear zone for just a second, but the only way to get out is to go right into the learning zone. Like if you are fearful of it, learn something about it. So you'll know what makes you fearful. Is it because I don't really know how to work with budgets? So maybe you learn about budgets and now that barriers removed. So yeah, because I've seen supervisors, I've seen people get into leadership positions and like in 6 months or 8 months, they're ready to throw in the towel. And I'm like, don't throw it in. It's just transition. I can show you the phases. Hold on. We need what you have. You're in the right place. Just hold. What's lacking? Let's learn about it so we can add to it. But don't run back. Just hold on. You're doing okay. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is communication. You What do you believe the impact of communication may have on opportunity, may have on performance, may even have on assumed performance? What do you what are some of the things you how would you rate not your communication, but how important communication would be as one is growing in their career?
So I live and breathe off of expressing the importance of communication to people. So where I literally would tell the staff, how would I know that? You didn't tell me. How would the OR know that? You didn't share that with them. And so communication is very key. There can be times where the OR will call down for a turnover and the sterile processing team will say, it's in a sterilizer. They don't share anything else. So now the OR is upset at an even more heightened, area. They're way more upset. And so getting the staff members to understand, hey, it's okay to let the OR know the time frame of when that tray can be sent to the OR. I'm like, include the biological reading, include your drying time, include it all. They will rather hear of a time frame than it's in the sterilizer and not ready. So that communication piece, and no matter what role I've been in, have been so important. And then teaching and training other staff members about that proper communication. And where I've learned that some people are not comfortable with that communication, but having that practice with them daily. I remember I used to have a staff member. She was so quiet. We'll be like, she'll be in decon and she'll say, can you get the actual cart washer? But it was at a very low, can you get the cart washer? We'd be like, what? And so literally I kept working with her just on, you're communicating, but you need to communicate with confidence. And, teaching her that literally by the end of her 3 months of her training that she was in, she had a voice and she felt comfortable and communicating. She felt comfortable and elevating in a tone that was appropriate for the workplace. And so making sure that teaching supervisors and managers follow up on an email. You're doing all this great work in the background, but how do I know you're doing this great work in the background? Communicate it, share that email, share a follow-up email. You can have a conversation with a staff member, but it's okay to say, per our conversation, you share A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It don't have to be negative. It could be positive. Also with communication too, actually training leaders to give recognition to the team, to their technicians. Not saying it behind the scenes, this person is so strong, they're awesome. Did you share that with that staff member? Did you let that staff member know how great of a job that they're doing? And so I love going into hospitals where they have that recognition, where you can actually write and give points just for being awesome. Just seeing the look on staff members' faces where they're just like, I am doing a good job. I think that's very important. There's a lot of sterile processing technicians that go above and beyond, but did anyone tell them? And so training those leaders to share the great work that they've seen in their staff members, and even having the C-suite come down to sterile processing and telling the team how great of a job they've done. I've been a part of those too, where they're like, oh my God, can you believe the president of the hospital came down here and told us how great of a job we're doing? And to see that look on their faces, they're like, our jobs, it's important. And so I love having communication, training people to communicate better. And another way that I've been able to train people on great communication is when we're having those huddles, allowing one of the leaders or even a technician to lead the actual meeting. This helps them to practice around their peers. And then once they're comfortable, sharing it with the next shift, giving them that opportunity to feel that comfortability, and then giving them the tools too. I'm the first to throw a leadership book in somebody's face. Like, hey, you want to be a great leader? Here's a wonderful book, and it will have workshop tips in there where you can actually write in there and express what you've learned and how you want to grow. So yeah, I love communication. I'm really, really big on that.
Oh my gosh. We listen. There are similarities. That is me. I have books. I'm like, these are transition words, because sometimes people get nervous because they're saying and then they focus on the and it makes it. Here's some transition words. Just take 3 or 4. We can ride these 3 or 4 all month if you like, so that it becomes a part. No, I love that. That is amazing. I want to thank you so much. I want to say congratulations. Just seeing your journey. I know we don't speak often, but I am always encouraged. I'm always encouraged when I see you on LinkedIn. I'm always encouraged by just the growth. I'm always encouraged, period. Just there's so many people who care about this profession who are actually doing the work, And so I love when I can just see like, hey, no, not only are they doing the work, they are enjoying the work that they're doing, and they're helping to empower others. They're pushing others up, uplifting others, and I'm not even gonna say what they're not doing. We're gonna keep it on the up. They're pushing them up. They're helping them do the up thing. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm proud of that. Thank you so much for sharing time with us today on Knowledge and Nonsense. Guys, this is Krystal Westmoreland. If you have not connected with her on LinkedIn, please connect with her on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, why? You never know what's on the other side of a handshake, including a virtual handshake. LinkedIn is a resource. I'm not saying you have to be on there 12 hours a day, but it is a resource. And one thing I learned from COVID is it made our world even smaller. So maybe you don't have maybe your chapter meeting is not thriving in the way you want, but there are so many resources right here on LinkedIn that you can reach out to. I guarantee you 99% of these individuals will respond to you if there's a question you have about something about the industry or even how to grow. Listen, they're going to respond back to you. Successful people typically aren't haters. They're excited when others grow, when all the boats rise together. They're like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. And Krystal, that's how I feel every time I see you. Every time I see you, I feel like that. I'm like, yeah. Keep doing what you do. Keep using your influence. Keep bringing the things that you bring to the table to improve the table for everyone there. Even those who may not be sitting there, you want it to be better. The roles that you've left, those places are better. They're better for having intersected with you and being there and all of that. I'll stop now. Okay. So you share that. Guys, connect with Krystal again on LinkedIn. Is there anything else that you would want to share? Any shout outs you want to give? No pressure. I want to be sure that you have the opportunity to share whatever's on your heart and say hey to whoever you want to say hey to.
So I would like to just tell everyone to continue to be supportive with each other, continue to work together as a team, and most importantly, continue to put the patient first. And I also would like to give a shout out to all of our students. Hang in there, like connect with us. Our field is absolutely amazing, and we have so many heavy hitters in this field. When I say heavy hitters, I mean full of knowledge and just encouragement. I definitely say for my students, please continue to stick in there. Please continue to connect with individuals. And to my sterile processing world, we're the best. Like, I'm going to always say that. We're awesome. So continue to be awesome. Continue to stay, connected with one another, and continue to be that beacon of light and hope. And a shout out to my daughter who's in nursing, and to my husband.
All right. Shout out daughter in nursing and husband who is going to be able to tell us about these flexible scopes. We love it because it is both. And for all of you out there listening, this has been Krystal Westmoreland here on Knowledge and Nonsense with us. Remember, you too can do both and step fully into whatever role you're in. Give your best to it. And I promise you, the best will come from it. It may not feel like it right then, but the best is coming from it right then and for the future. So, Krystal, thank you so much. Everyone be safe. Have an amazing evening. Be kind to somebody. Be nice to somebody, not for wealth or fame, but because it's just an awesome thing to do. Y'all be safe.